Oh, wait a minute.
What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? You got the almighty DJ CJ Flash back with a brand new episode, live episode of I Remember That Song. We got a doozy of a show for you. I'm not going to tell you about it because I'd never do tell you about it. I leave that for our man, the myth, the legend, the man, the host, the man. He's just the man. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage, Mr. Jerry Dove.
Once, twice, 4 times a man. That's what he said. That's who I am. How you doing? What's up, TJ Flash?
Hey, brother, how you?
I'm good. I'm good. Your sound is a little bit off there, man. So maybe we can work on that. Just a little bit off there. So let me do this. Well, yeah, now we can hear you at all. So, okay, that's fun. You funny. Welcome to I Remember That Song, as we like to call it, IRTS Live. It's an online version of the TV show. It's me and my friends sitting around talking about music and what it means to all of us. I'm so glad you're here with us tonight because we'll be talking about feel-good music in this holiday time. We're talking about music from the 90s, R&B, hip-hop, and a little bit of pop music too. Let me bring in the team so we can get this party started. You guys ready?
Yes.
Yes. All right, there we go. Everybody's boxing and carrying on in the right corner. We'll start with the man with the biggest arms up there because he's the one that's the biggest. He's Big Russ, as a matter of fact. One half of the world famous, been doing music in the Bay Area for over 25 years. Got the Fresh Beats t-shirt working on. What's up, Big Russ?
What's going on? Hi, family. I miss y'all.
Hey,
how y'all doing?
I missed it, y'all.
Good.
Wonderful. We're better now.
Yes.
Hey,
yes,
Tracy.
now,
hey, Ryan. Hey, CJ.
Hey, Russ.
Hey, brother.
And you too, Walona.
Again, I say this every week. If you weren't twice my size and half my age, I'd be whooping your ass, man. I just want you to know. So in the meantime,
he did say that, didn't he?
He did say that.
He did.
I'm sorry, Mom, but he keeps bringing this out of me, Mom.
Hold on.
Okay.
You hear that, Mom?
I said, "Oh, bring him on."
All right, but look here. Okay, let's go to the other people in the show. Ryan Nicole throwing her head back and laughing. How you doing tonight, Ryan?
I'm good. I'm ready for these 90s. Oh my goodness.
These 90s and this hip hop and all this kind of stuff. We're going to have some fun with this.
I broke out my Pro Style gel. I don't know if you know about Pro Style, but I broke out some Pro Style. You know, Tracy filling me down there. Yeah.
Okay.
I worked out my edges. Listen, Tracy, I even lined my lips. I took it back.
I was missing something. I should have went ahead, but it's too late.
It's okay. You're looking good.
Okay.
See my baby here? I got my baby
here. Your baby hair is laid.
It's laid. 50-year-old baby hair. We doing
Tracy, hello, everybody. Look at me.
Sorry.
Tracy.
You talking about baby hair. This is rap.
Tracy Anderson is the CEO of Plush Life Media. How you doing, Trace?
I am doing well. Happy Tuesday.
And to you as well. All right. And then up in the top is our man who is the other half of the world famous. He also happens to be the music director of this here show. His name is the almighty CJ Flash. Hey. Christopher Jordan, what's going on?
Wow, you just put my government all out there.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. It's a nice name.
I had to change my name.
A lot of people named Christopher Jordan out there that are running from the cops and stuff. It's all cool.
My name.
They'll never get you, man.
Cleopas Johnson.
There you go.
Before I go any further, maybe we should bring our guest in because if he's still there and still willing to come on after all this madness we've done the last couple of minutes. Yes, we might, or start some more. Our guest, I'm going to give him this nice introduction, so let's go. Our guest tonight is a nationally acclaimed hip-hop historian who is from our part of the world, right here in the Bay Area. He's a friend of the IRTS crew and then a friend of the show. He's reissuing a book that he co-wrote with Jeff Chang called Can't Stop, Won't Stop, a hip-hop history for the young adult edition. You see him right there. Say hello to Davey D.
Davey D.
Hello, David.
Davey D, how are you?
Did you call me David? Oh,
David
wow.
David D. David D. I know your name, David D.
We doing
When somebody says David, that usually means anger.
No, I'm not
means
mad
you're
at
in trouble.
nobody. No. So I got David, Christopher, Russell. Okay, all the full
Gerald.
names. Gerald. Yeah,
Gerald.
that's me. That's me.
Those are all 70s names, which means we got to enjoy the 90s.
That's right. That's
Oh,
right.
You know,
this is true. Okay.
if you really think about it, everybody in the 90s has names like Gerald and all that. Because
That's
we, you know,
That's right.
Cause what? Cause what? What you trying to say?
They know Jamals in the 90s.
because our parents
Babies. They were babies.
They were babies. Our parents came up and said, I want my kid to have a good name.
I knew you
So
was
he
gonna
can
say
get a good job.
a good government job.
Get a government job,
That's right. That's right. That's right. So Tracy, before we get started, why don't you do that part where you ask everybody to share it and get involved and all that kind of stuff. Do your thing with Spotlight Media.
Yes. Well, welcome again to another wonderful edition of IRTS show. We're going to be talking about 90s hip hop. And so we need crowd participation, you guys. So this is a good time to swipe and invite. I'm going to also encourage all of our VIP guests to do the same on this panel. Go to the IRTS show like page and you can share from there. Yes, we have our IRTS correspondent here live right now. Mm-hmm. So make sure that you swipe and invite. We are also on YouTube for those that are not a fan of Facebook, and we are also streaming live on Twitter/Periscope. So this is a good time to swipe and invite. And also make sure you give some comments because we will highlight some people that are watching as well.
All right. So we lost our guest. Did he swipe out?
Like, that's enough. He said, I don't like Facebook.
Back.
You said swipe. I went to swipe and they signed me out. They kicked me out.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, okay.
Lord,
all right.
Uh-oh.
I sat up there, I clicked, and the next thing you know,
this will not be the one we sent to BET or
I tried to warn y'all.
Everyone we said.
I really tried to warn y'all. Nobody wants to listen to me.
All right. Well, look, maybe it's going to get better from here. It's going to get better from here. Once CJ Flash starts playing some music from the 90s and we start this conversation, CJ, it's all up to you. Save us, brother.
I got you. You're going to like where this is going.
Okay.
I see what you're doing. Not cool.
You are so okay.
What you say? What you say? What you say?
Whose world is this?
The world is yours. The world is yours.
It's mine, it's mine. Whose world is this? It's mine, it's mine, it's mine. Whose world is this?
The world is yours. The world is yours.
It's mine, it's mine, it's mine.
I sip the Don Pete, watching Gandhi till I'm charged and writing in my book of rhymes. All the words past the margin. The whole of mic I'm dropping. Mechanical movement, understandable smooth shit that murderers move with. The thief's theme. Play me at night, they won't act right. The fiend of hip hop has got me stuck like a crack pipe. The mind activation, react like I'm facing time like Pappy Mason. With pins I'm embracing, wipe the sweat off my dome, spit the phlegm on the streets. Suede Timbs on my feet makes my cipher complete. Weather cruising in a 6 cab. I'm on tarot deep, I can't call it. The beats make me falling asleep, I keep falling, but never falling 6 feet deep. I'm out for presidents to represent me.
Say what?
I'm out for presidents to represent me.
Say what?
I'm out for dead presidents to represent me.
Whose world is
Okay, remember, we got to get in here too, CJ.
Oh,
You guys all
man.
doing the whole time.
Felt good to you.
I had to start it off like that. I'm sorry.
Okay,
Bro.
okay,
Very,
okay.
very
Without-
necessary.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
You can start them all off like that, brother.
Yes, you can.
Yeah,
Get in the
just
crate.
don't play them as long because they're just gonna get cut off anyway. So you know how we do.
Oh, yeah.
All right, Brian Nicole, you were bouncing, and Karen,
Oh,
you
bro.
go first. You go first. Go ahead.
Well, we're gonna go from Ahmad Jamal, where he dug in the crates there and let us know what the break was for that song, and that song was Nas's "Whose World Is This?" or "The World Is Yours." Man, that is a classic early '90s hit off of Nas's album, Illmatic, and I don't know what can he say. It's just it's a classic. It's a staple in the hip hop discography.
Okay, all right. Russell Gaywood.
She said it all. I mean, the Illmatic record is definitely, you could put it on the Mount Rushmore of hip hop albums. He put his block, his entire block on his back, and let the world know what was going on with Queensbridge. And it was just, he was telling stories in a way that we hadn't really experienced in hip hop. There's no one quite did it like him, and it was refreshing and energizing at the same time, because you really want to know how this dude is painting this picture. Nas was just, and is still, he was very prolific, a man who definitely got the business side of it, and still doing great business with all his investments. He's a good dude, man. Good dude. We got a chance to work with him a couple of times out here when I was at Def Jam. Solid dude. When he had the N album, and we just really got a chance to sit down and talk about why he named it that. It's a very incendiary title, but a very important piece of his canon. It's an important piece of work.
Okay, all right. Tracy, and then we'll go to Davey at the end there. Tracy, go ahead.
He's just one of these MCs that is so necessary. Lyrically, just so necessary. I love how he has just matured over the years as a stand-up guy. Like Russell touched on, making really wise investments, in the tech field. He's making a lot of moves quietly that people don't realize, just obtaining ownership of different, organizations and things like that. And so I'm just really, really proud of what he's doing. He's so thoughtful. He's one of the last thoughtful MCs, people who are aware of what's happening socially. He's very current. And I'm so proud that, that he's such a dope contributor to our culture.
And he must be drinking all the water, because the boy don't age at all. Okay, he looks amazing.
Well,
I was not going to go into the whole baby daddy piece.
Yeah, Khalees was cooking for him early, so
He hooked him up with the organics and whatnot.
Yeah,
this must be nothing but berries and
organics
and fresh beets.
And fresh beets. There you go. David D, what you got on Nas?
Well, I think I agree with what everybody says, but I also think we need to go back into time, 94, when that album came out. It wasn't a big hit record the way that we look back at it today. It took a while for people to have full appreciation of it, and primarily because there was a few things going on in hip hop. One, everybody was getting a regional voice. The Bay was coming into its own, Tupac and others were starting to make noise, Spice One. We were really checking for that more than Nas. LA was starting to come up with the G-Funk and on the tail end of NWA, the South was starting to bubble over. And it was interesting, as you were saying that, I collect charts. And here I have more than 100 charts. If I go back to the year that Nas came out, on the KMAL chart, you don't see his records. On the Pros record pool, you don't see his record. On the KSOL charts, you don't see his records. And that's not to say that it wasn't bad, because there was hip hop on those charts. But it is to say that I think we got to really appreciate Nas as he aged and as we aged, that we were able to go back and really say, you know what, this man really did it. He really painted a picture of New York. You had to be in New York to really capture what Illmatic was about. There's an appreciation for the musicology and all that, but he really spoke to the New Yorker in the early 90s in a way that I haven't seen since. And we grew to really love that album.
Yeah. I think, we're probably going to hear all these tracks, but definitely around that time, we were so spoiled with, such great contributions in hip hop at the time that it was easy to overlook. It's hard to say it now, but it's easy to overlook, Whose World Is This or Illmatic, which is crazy.
Yeah, the thing that I think caught that everybody that caught Nas is how Nas caught our attention was the Live at the Barbecue track, where he said he went to hell for snuffing Jesus. It was like, whoa, whoa. Like you was afraid to hear that. Did he say he snuffed Jesus? Or Jesus? He must have said Jesus. Let me rewind, And he said and then he doubled down and said something about some nuns, and I was like, oh man, this dude is he really went there. But I think I came to really appreciate it a lot more. And I mean, hip hop heads played him, so I don't want to make it seem like he was unknown, but I didn't hear Nas on the corners of East Oakland, back in that time. It was definitely local flavor, local artists who were finally getting their respect after battling for so long to be seen and heard. And we got to appreciate that time. Everybody was getting their voice, including Queensbridge, which was really coming into its own, which is what Nas was representing.
Well, Davey, let me ask you a question. With the Horowitz family, Ben Horowitz being one of the people to give to Nas when he did his whole documentary that was really done in such an excellent way. What happened where we missed it during that time, versus now someone as powerful as a Ben Horowitz saying your story is necessary, it's vital, we need to tell it, and here's some funding to support it. Like what happened over the years?
I think he was authentic, and he was authentic at a time when the industry was just starting to turn a corner and try to put formulas to what they thought would be hits. If you remember, around that time, there was like a lot of up-tempo dance rap, Redhead Kingpin, and C&C Music Factory and all that, which was cool. They were good to dance to. But a lot of people were also like, where am I in this thing called hip-hop? So Oakland wanted to be like, where am I? Where is Pooh Man? Where is Too Short? Where is Tupac? Where is Digital? They wanted to see themselves. LA wanted to see themselves. Where's Warren G? And Long Beach? Where is, what I mean? So everybody really wanted to see themselves. Around that time, you also have the emergence of the South in the form of Outkast and the whole Dungeon Squad. So Atlanta was like, we got something to say. So we got to recognize Nas came at a time when everybody was like, I'm going to rep my neighborhood in a way that we hadn't seen really rep above, just saying the name of your neighborhood. He's not shouting out Queensbridge every line, but he's saying this is a picture of who we are. And I think everybody else was on the same vibe. And that's what made that album so special. So for me, I came to really appreciate it after the fact. Like, man, let me go back and listen to that. Like how CJ opened up with that jazz piece. It was like, you know what? If you did that in 94, we would have been like, what the hell are you doing?
Right.
But now we can go back and be like, yo, that dude does he have any more tracks like that? That he aged like fine wine.
Absolutely. Amen to that. Now let me ask you this. I know his father. Oh, go ahead, Russell.
No, go ahead, Tracy. Talk about Pops.
Oh, I was just going to say his father has rich history in jazz. And so I'm sure that's probably something that really influenced him. And during that time, we had Q-Tip, we had, Guru, we had different, premier people who were now going in those types of crates. We had exhausted, I don't want to say exhausted, but we had really, really thoroughly went through the James Brown, piece, right? In terms of samples and sound. Now we're in the deep crates of jazz.
Yeah.
It had a lot to do with his presentation.
Well, I would like to say yes, because that's how I got into it. When I first was introduced to it, there was record pools and everybody was playing Freedom Williams. I get that. But when Nas was a whole nother experience, it's almost like my first introduction into New York. And I listened to it, and I said, okay, well, where is this voice coming from? What's driving this voice? And I started breaking down the records and listening, talking to other cats, and like Paz Red and other cats, and saying, "Yo, man, what is this shit? What is this he's doing here? I never heard this before." And it opened up so I could sit down with where I was kind of 12-inch bass at the time, but his record, once I got the full-length vinyl, I sat down and I listened to it, and I got it. But it took me, I had to invest in it because I don't live in New York. I'm not from New York, but I was intrigued by New York, and I had to listen to it and say, okay, this is my way in.
Yeah.
And it opened me wide open. And it wasn't for the charts. You're not going to see a lot of the things that CJ is going to touch. You're not going to see on any of those charts that you have there, brother. But the streets charts are something that's what a lot of those records that are on those charts you're talking about, nobody's talking about today. But everybody's talking about now.
Actually, I would disagree. If I pulled them out, you would see Hyro, 93 to Infinity. You would see Black Sheep. You would see Tupac. You would see a lot of things. Public Enemy. So there was a lot of things. And they were the streets, if you're talking about the record pool. These were our peers, And so I'm looking at, and this is not just to slight that. There were hip-hop heads that were definitely in it. Like Kev at Stanford would play Nas all the time. Yeah. We would play him on Calyx. But if we went on the block, in the streets, in our neighborhood, if we went to East Oakland, you wasn't hearing Nas on the corner like that. You just wasn't. And there's nothing wrong with that. We were hearing what was reflective of Oakland at that time. And if you went to New York, they was like, I don't know who these people are. Example, KRS-One came out around that time. I think he had his album, it was something like Violence or something like that. He came out here. And I remember he was like talking about, the hood and all this. And so I took him to East Oakland. We went to T.Y. Woozy's in Eastmont Mall. And I told Chris, I said, I'll give you $20 for anybody who walks up here and buys your album because this is the hood. And people walked in and they recognized him. They was like, oh, yeah, man, I seen you on TV. But they was buying Ant Banks. They was buying, Ant Diddley Dog and Rappin' Ron. And Pooh Man, they was buying what was cracking in Oakland at that time. And we just got to recognize that there was a Bay Area story. Illmatic Posse, all those people were the streets, the hood. And there was nothing wrong with that. That was, they just didn't have the level of Nas's lyricism. And, but I think if we listen to a lot of those records, they stood the test of time too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because they represented an era for all of us that were coming up at that time.
And that was a difficult time, like you said. It was like the left broke, and then everywhere across the country, you had the Midwest, you had the South, you had everywhere, even Seattle,
Yeah.
So I can see that.
In many ways, everybody was not reacting, but they were saying, I don't need New York to shine.
Right.
And if there's one thing that I would give the Bay a lot of credit for was being among the first to really do that for a very long time. It's like, man, we're not tripping 3,000 miles away. And I'm from New York. I'm from the Bronx. Mm-hmm. And I could recognize that, when I got out here, people were like, I've been there, but it doesn't drive what I'm doing. And so that era was a very special era because everybody was really coming of age and really stepping into their own. Nas just did it in a way that, is undeniable. I mean, there's never going to be another Illmatic. He did it the best, but we were all doing it at that time.
Okay.
Get in there, Jerry. Get in there. He been double dutching this whole time.
Right.
I want y'all to talk and I want to learn. I'm listening to everything and I'm sure everybody's enjoying it. But we do want to play some more songs and kind of spread this conversation out a little bit. I don't want y'all to shoot all your guns empty at the very beginning, although I know you got plenty of ammunition. CJ,
yo,
touch another button, play another song.
Ain't never been a sign. And I was having BREID way before this rap gang flew out in tap. Thought you things for sheets. Blues member? Earl Bratton, De Niro, they bought from Vallejo. And every night is automatic. burn rubber. See my focus in the traffic. What's up, Earth? Follow that cap, it got Yola in it. My partner Shout got some bros.
I'm always hearing rappers big ballin' on their songs. I live like that for real, and you'll never say I'm wrong. S500 straight sitting on 20s. TV in the dad dipping fast, getting money. I'm too short, baby, been down since the 80s. For the last 8 years, I rode around in a Mercedes, Lexus, trucks, drop bed caddy. Women don't call me by my name, they call me daddy.
See, now see, I like that. I like that. They call me daddy. I like that. I like
That's
that.
the only part you heard.
That's the part I heard. Exactly. I heard that part. I heard
I'm
that.
not calling you daddy. It's all right, though.
Okay, it ain't happening.
Big pop up. We're gonna get to that too, I'm sure. So look, come back, Russ. Come back, Russ. I'll listen to you. You gotta listen to me, bro. So look, Too Short, E40 this Saturday. I know we're gonna talk about that at some point during the show.
Sir.
But since you're playing Too Short right now, who got a Too Short story? I know you guys all probably met
We
him and
all
things
got a
like that.
Too Short. Everybody got a Too Short story.
You better have one.
So let's talk about all these artists and all these things, but keep it shorter and more concise so I can keep the show moving. All of you.
I'm gonna keep mine.
Until we get to the
myself.
90s R&B, and then I'll stretch out on Babyface and after 7. And
Okay, I'll go first. I like it.
Okay.
I'm gonna go second. Eastmont Mall sideshow.
Okay, I-80 East Vallejo. Yeah, that.
Okay, 18 bus going up Park Boulevard.
Yee.
He was on the back of the bus with a Too Short hat on, and
What?
black hat, yellow letters, and I had no idea who the hell Too Short was.
Wow.
I hadn't gotten a hold of a tape yet, and then maybe about 3 or 4 years later, I got a hold of a tape, and I was like,
I was on the bus with that dude.
"That's that."
With no tooth. But anyway.
Yep.
Okay, that's when he had no tooth.
Yeah.
Yeah, a guy who called himself Sir Too Short,
Mhm.
who shocked the nation when he opened up at the Fresh Fest. And people were like, who the hell is this guy? And he got bigger applause than everybody that was out there. People were shocked to see that entire audience singing along to his song. I think it was Freaky Tales or some version of it at that time. And
Boom, boom.
and just having a, and Short is still here, like 20 albums later,
Yeah.
still doing. And that song, those two independent pioneers coming together on one record and spitting game. I once did a lecture, not a lecture, I preached at a church. And
Lord.
I did at Allen Temple.
This is deep. This is getting so
Allen
deep right
Temple.
now.
But I remember.
Did you call him daddy? Did you call a priest daddy?
No, but I quoted E40's. E40 said he has a briefcase full of game. Don't buy an $85,000 car before you buy a house.
Hello.
That was just wisdom right there and then at a time, and it represented the independence of the Bay.
That's
If
holy.
you go back and listen to that album, there's a lot of, he captured it. They did what Nas did for us on that song in 95, 96.
It's
They
game.
laid the whole blueprint for people to be independent.
Yeah, the
And to
independent
really
hustle.
force the hands of these major labels. I mean, they sold so many units in the streets between E40, Too Short, and Hammer. The labels had no choice but to give them exactly what they wanted.
Yes.
That was their ingenuity and their ability to just strategize on a level with no internet. They had no social media. It was hustle, word of mouth, and a lot of footwork. So people coming behind them really need to honor and give them flowers. That's why the fact that Versus is happening right now, though a lot of people from other regions might not really fully understand the weight of it, Master P would, because Master P moved from New Orleans to the Bay to understand what these guys did.
Real talk. Listen, I'm writing.
Yeah. Go ahead,
I'm writing a musical right now called Co-Founders, and you shouted out Ben Horowitz, who is a tech, VC, venture capitalist, him and his wife Felicia. And what we talk about in the opening scene of this piece that is about tech mostly, but it's really about tech in the Bay Area, is the hustle, the independent hustle that the computer guys got from E40, from Too Short, from
Hammer.
Yeah, the ability, there's a real linkage between being able to sell a tape from the trunk of your car and being able to sell a computer from the garage of your house. So real connection there. And there's no wonder that tech blew up the way that it did, and that the hip hop independent industry really started right here out of a trunk.
Real quick, I had E40 in Paris, who's another guy that we need to recognize, on the same radio show.
Paris, for sure.
And Paris is a real estate cat, right? So he understood that. 40 came on that show, I'll never forget, and he talked about how to buy 3 houses with $85,000 and to flip it, with Paris giving like details on it, right? And I remember one of them said, the Bay Area don't rock gold chains, we rock house notes, right?
Hello.
And so at the time, if you think about it, 96, I wish I had followed what they were talking about, because it was like, you can get a fixer-upper, and then you take that money and you flip it and do a fixer-upper. This is 95, 96, they're talking about it, right?
Yes,
so
sir.
wasn't that the blueprint for, real estate moguling? Look at where 40 lives now, up there in Black Hawk, building it from the ground up, right?
Yes, sir.
So
Yes, sir.
they knew what they was doing, and a lot of wisdom. And Paris is another one that was independent that we gotta kind of recognize in that lineage.
Absolutely.
The industry owes these cats a huge debt. The contracts, the Jive contracts, were groundbreaking. And the whole entire industry, when you talk about people like Master P wanting to say, okay, I'm checking for verses this week, you're also going to have Big Boy who's checking for verses.
Yes.
You're going to have all those cats from Chicago who is checking for verses, because Short put a lot of people down. 40 put a lot of people up on game like, yo, you don't have to sign what you gave them. They want to sign you.
Yeah.
You can make your own terms. You have what they want to sell. If they could do it, they wouldn't sign any of us.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, there's a lot of people going to be checking. A lot of people owe them a huge debt of gratitude. Myself included.
And when you travel the country, they'll tell you. Like, oh, yeah, the Bay laced it. But that was the aspect of the Bay. Them guys did it.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this now. How did now you guys all talked about how you felt Nas out here on the West Coast. How did E40 and Too Short reach the East Coast people? Was it a similar kind of a thing, or since none of you were there, you don't know, or what do you think?
They started in the South. We had that, because I did retail marketing in 1990, and it was like the South was the first region to really the Midwest and the South. They gravitated to all things from Oakland, Bay Area, California quicker than the other regions. Once we dominated the South, we dominated the Midwest, we obviously dominated the West Coast. Well, then you had other regions on the East Coast that had to consider what it is that was happening, because the Billboard charts were affected by that. The record pools were affected by that. The college stations and the regular stations were affected by what we were doing from a grassroots level.
Right.
And Short's impact was a little different, because the South really, they grabbed onto Short on some pimp stuff. They rocked the pimp stuff, and then with the pimp game, he then opened them up to the business game. 40, correct me if I'm wrong, Dave, but 40 was getting love from New York, because they were like, what the hell is he saying? 40 was just as foreign to New York as New York was foreign to us in the beginning. And they really wanted to dig into what he was doing. Then they found the coins behind that, and they were like, okay, I'm in.
Right. Well, if you remember, Too Short got booed at his album release party in New York, right? And so did Hammer, right? Hammer got booed at the Latin Quarter, right, when he went there. And both of them came back in triumph. Turned His Mother Out is a response to the rejection at the Latin Quarter. That's why they said, you ain't banging in New York. And I think what happens is, and Tracy, you might know, when they went on tour, that's when people got to see it. So when you was in New York, people like, I don't know who these people are. When you was in New Jersey, it was like, I don't know who these people are. When you was in Philly, I don't know who these people are. But once they got down to South Carolina, you had to switch the order of the lineup. People's like, I didn't come to see these guys. I came to see that other guy, Too Short. And they was like, what the hell? Right. So, and once they started swinging from South Carolina into Alabama, Mississippi, Texas, and all that, then they realized, like, yo, them cats, you might not like them in New York, but everywhere else around the country they're banging. And what was genius about them was they figured out trade routes for the Bay to go to. So the Bay didn't have to go to New York. It goes, we'll go to Kansas City.
Yeah.
We'll go to Boise, Idaho. We'll go down here to Memphis. You know, in fact, we were just talking with DJ Paul. He said, to your point, Russ, Paul from 3 6 Mafia, he said the music wasn't the same, but he said we latched on to the pimp game.
Yeah.
He said that's what they had in common. So there was that sort of flavor. And we got to look at those mini markets and how the Bay was not necessarily trying to get on MTV or BET or any of those things. They were like, I get love in these mini markets. They, in many ways, those rappers invented what we call hyper localism, hyper marketing.
Wow.
Yes,
That's what they did.
Yeah, and also just in addition to that, you know, a lot of those venues were not even open to having rap shows. They were closed to hip hop. So it took a Hammer who was someone, you know, likable, kind of safe or whatever, to come in and get these promoters to let hip hop back in these venues. So though they want to diss Hammer, they need to thank him because he opened the door for endorsements from Pepsi and different things like that. And he also opened the door, you know, the doors of these venues for them to even reconsider having hip hop back in their venues.
Right. Hammer is aged like fine wine too.
Yeah.
Everything that people used to clown him about, everybody's trying to do exactly what he was doing.
He owns part of Twitter, right?
Later.
Shares in Twitter.
Yeah,
I'm sure he does. You know,
Yeah.
he was ahead of his
I'll
time.
tell you what I won't be doing that Hammer's doing. I'm not riding on that snail with Libby Shaft.
Well, that's a whole other thing.
I'm gonna just say that now. I love the boy, but I ain't doing that.
That's in the Warriors parade you talking about?
Yeah, I don't care. I don't care what parade it is. It's
Wasn't a good look.
a parade.
So
I'm not riding.
did the three of them ever tour together?
No.
No.
Short E40 and Libby Shaft. That would be a hell of a tour, wouldn't
That
it?
officially means that we've talked enough about them. And on to the next song, CJ Flash.
Ooh.
Me and you, your mama and your cousin too. Rolling down the strip on boats, coming up slamming Cadillac door. Back in the day when I was younger, hunger, looking to fill me belly with that rallies. Push off like it was supposed to be pulled. But the chick I was stone like them white boys. When them white girls before them got chrome, chunky passes getting though like Hail Marys and they looking like Halle Berry. So fine, intertwined. But we ain't sipping wine, we just chilling. I'm the rabbit villain, and I'm so high and freely. Me, Lil Big, Rick Mona Shook, and my little brother.
Outcast. I know it. Outcast.
You did it. Good job,
I
Jerry.
love Outkast. I like them too. I like to see again with me with hip hop. Some of the lyrics just jump out, and when they did the one about
Spodiodelicious.
well, that one too. That one too. But the girl that was in the ceiling in Germany back when she was hiding from the Nazis, Anne Frank. Anne Frank.
Okay.
That line about Anne Frank that just jumped out at me, and I heard that, and I'm like, okay, let me listen to these guys a little bit more. And I like their style. I like their swag and all that kind of thing. Because I've had conversations with Russell about hip hop and all like that. And while I love and respect everybody for doing what they do, it just and he froze like that.
That's a hell of a freeze
He
frame.
froze. Looked like he was digging his. I don't know what he's doing, but I there just some of it just had to speak to me, and I have to hear some of it. And some of that stuff that Outkast does, that I can get that. I can get with that. So talk about Outkast.
I need to give props to Norstein Riley.
Yeah.
Norstein Riley is who turned me on to Outkast.
Wow.
Big shout out.
Yeah, Nora turned me on and turned me out to Outkast. I can't even front. That what I wasn't checking for it. I walked in her office one day and she says, "Yo, listen to this and call me next week." and I was sprung from them. Wow. And I will say the band is revolutionary, but not from the quintessential revolutionary viewpoint.
Yeah.
What Outkast did is they were able to completely lyricize a segment of the Southern culture that had never been represented before.
Absolutely.
And it was inviting.
Yeah.
You wanted more. You said, "Oh my God, I can relate," you know. And it was like what Davey was saying. I need to back this record up again. What did he just say?
Right.
Okay, I'm in. I'm in.
So the thing with Outkast, first of all, you don't have Outkast without Arrested Development, who predate them.
True.
And they kind of transformed the understanding of the South from the stereotypical way that we had, because the South, the biggest voices we thought was like Miami Bass and 2 Live Crew, and then you thought it was country. And Arrested Development kind of reminded you that the South is where we're from. And then came the Goody Mob and Outkast that gave you this like, hey, we can get nice with it in a way that you better respect. They were as transformative to the South as Rakim and Eric B were as transformative in terms of switching up the rhyme style to New York in the 80s, as Nas was with Illmatic when he gave you, like, let me paint the picture. And so I was in Atlanta when they did one of their first shows, right? It was outdoors. It was everything you would imagine, like outdoors, a hot day. I think Biggie was there. And man,
were they serving chicken?
They did all that stuff, the dominoes, the watermelon, the whole nine.
Yes, sir.
But when they got on the stage and did their thing, right? It was like the hyphy movement. You had to be in Oakland to understand it. You had to be in Atlanta at that time to really go, I get where you're coming from, and it spoke to a generation of people. And here we are 20 years later. You can't tell me you would reject an Outkast song. Hell no. Them things, they stand the test of time the same way Nas is Illmatic, and both of them got 5s if you really think about it.
Yeah.
When they were rated, they were, that's the top 10 album.
Yeah, I went to more Outkast concerts than any other hip hop concert in my history. It's true. Yeah. They kind of were hitting right around my high school, college days. So I was able to go independently, and they managed to make, I don't know, they seemed to follow like the same route that I happened to be on. And so every time they were in town somewhere and I happened to be there, I would check them out. And they had such an aerobic show, like such a physical, exciting show. You couldn't sit down. You had to dance the whole time. You wanted to be engaged. Yeah. Inviting is the right word, Russ. Just a whole, I wanted to be in the South, and they were the closest thing to it that I could hold on to.
And they kept their accents and everything. It was like, we are from the South, got something to say. And they sure said a lot.
Yes, they did.
I think they also kind of gave a blueprint to labels who wanted to come to the party when it came to hip hop, because they understood the units that were being moved. They understood that it was way less to promote hip hop than it was R&B. So they wanted to be a part of it, but they really didn't understand how grassroots they had to be. That they had to have relationships with all of the record pools and all the people in each region. And I know that L.A. Reid and Babyface, they were hesitant initially, to even do Goody Mob and to embrace it, but it was undeniable art.
They didn't get it. L.A. didn't get it. He admitted he did not get it, but he couldn't escape it.
Right.
And then he had to figure out, okay, I know I can sell it here in Atlanta, but I don't know how to sell it elsewhere, not realizing that it sells itself.
Yeah. Is that, I'm curious, is that, you were saying, Tracy, it was cheaper to push a hip hop record, particularly Outkast, than it was an R&B record. What's to that? Why?
What was the margin? Yeah. Well, when you have a Shantae Moore and you're doing her video in Paris and her wardrobe and her band, full band with strings and all of those things, to take that on tour was really a stretch and a hit in the budget. Whereas we had a DJ, maybe a couple of dancers, and 2 MCs. And with playing to track, along with the DJ. So it was like, the cost variation, and it was just easier to saturate that local market you know, with shows and things like that, because that, you know, most MCs, they were always at the local club. They were always in the community performing, doing a cypher, whatever.
Right.
And so they had, you know, access to people more so than a Janet Jackson, where there had to be a machine, it had to be a red carpet rollout, you know, for the industry to respect that project.
We've all heard the stories about the tour buses that it takes just to take one set from one concert venue to another. Like all these big shows like Janet with like 3 or 4 buses with all the different things on her staging and all that kind of stuff. So
I don't think there's a full appreciation for the lyricism, especially of Andre.
Oh,
you know, that dude is a bad MC. You know, I would never want to get in the ring and battle him. You would get your feelings hurt.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Or in the fashion statement, you know, just from hip hop.
Yeah.
The rap, like you said, the lyrics, but just the culture as itself, they added so much just avant-garde audacity.
Yeah, a little too avant, a little less guard.
Listen, I'm Andre movement. It's all right.
Andre had some stuff. He's like,
Hey, but what's that Cam Newton?
It was almost like a Parliament Funkadelic thing that he had.
Yes,
you know, where Big Boy, and it was such a line in the sand. And I was joking with CJ one day. The verses that I want to see is I want to see Speaker Box versus the Love
Below. Hello.
Wow.
Yes.
You know.
That would be dope. That would be dope.
Speaking of that, when all of America got a hold of Outkast with the Hey Ya and all like that, did Andre lose a little respect? Did people think he sold out, or what? Because I like that one. I thought it was a different, unique. I thought it was definitely a banger. Absolutely.
So I think cool. He's good. You know what I want to see a versus in? I would like to see Mos Def, also of the 90s, go up against Andre in acting.
You want to see Mos Def go up against Yasin Bey? How about that?
Yasin Bey. Hey, okay.
Jerry, we talk about Hey Ya. It's not. You got to look at the body of work, because he didn't lose anybody with the body of work, because then you have just the complete opposite of that with Prototype. You know, when you look at that album and you say Hey Ya is a whatever. Yeah. Okay, that's for them. This, you know, and it was dope. Trust me, it the way they put it together, it was fly. But then you get to like Prototype, you're like, this dude.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So good. Outkast is good. CJ Flash, you got something you want to add on Outkast?
Other than shouting out Rico Casanova for bringing them out here when they first dropped.
Yeah.
And he put the EP in my hand, and I was like, oh wow. Oh, this is very interesting. And then they came around this time of year, I believe. Rico would have a bunch of artists come out around this time of year, and Outkast was in the building.
The Pros record pool.
Yeah.
Wow. Only black-owned record pool with all those charts.
Come on,
Davey, Davey, peep this. They would not let me in.
What?
Really?
Yeah, they did.
What'd you do, Russ?
No, I didn't do anything. I was a fledgling. I was just starting, and I said, you know, I'd like to be in the pool. And they said, no, you're not good enough.
No, let me tell you what it was. I ran the pool for 2 years, and I was like, Big Russ? No.
The secret is out. Now we know.
No, Russ was capping on me at a club for wearing a turtleneck. I was like, one day he's going to need me. One day he's going to need me.
Hold on, not a turtleneck. That turtleneck you got on right now.
His, not mine.
I feel like I'm in a time capsule. It was that very turtleneck right there.
All right, look. So for the
I said Russ will not get into the record pool.
People are just tuning in. I want you to know that you're watching IRTS Live. As I remember that song live, we're talking about music from the 90s. We've touched on some hip hop so far. CJ's got some other stuff he's going to play a little bit later, but we got our guest, Davey D, who is a hip hop historian. We're going to talk about a book that he's reissuing coming at the top of the year. But before we get to any of that, let me thank our sponsors, including United Players. It takes the hood to save the hood. Rudy Corpus is over there saving lives and helping people who are transitioning out of prison and getting back into the mainstream in San Francisco and all over the Bay Area. He's a great guy. If you ever get a chance to meet him, he'll hug you whether you want him to or not, because that's the kind of guy he is. He's a good man. Lifelong Medical Care is helping out with Lucinda Bazell is over there. They are offering high quality health, dental, and social services to all ages and incomes. Now, if you would like to join us as a sponsor, please email me at info@irtsshow.com, and I'll send you all the information that you need. Welcome back to I Remember That Song, IRTS Live. We are talking music from the 90s, R&B, hip-hop, and a little bit of pop music. Maybe we'll pop something in there, a little Britney Spears, maybe?
Maybe.
Nah, okay, well, maybe. I was kidding, but okay, if that's what you think you need to do. But our guest tonight is Mr. Davey D. You see him right up there. Davey, tell us about this book that you are reissuing. It's called Can't Stop, Won't Stop, a Hip-Hop History, the Young Adult Edition. You co-wrote that with Jeff Chang. Tell us about that.
Well, Jeff Chang wrote the original version, and it was a game changer when it came out because of the narrative that he was able to really capture. It took him about 10 years to write it. And he really dug deep into the political and social conditions that gave rise to hip hop in the Bronx. He talked about the infamous gang truces that took place, and then he really covered a lot of what was going on out west. So here we are about 10, 15 years later. They wanted to redo the book. And so we did a rewrite with the emphasis on reaching young adults. And we took it up to date. So the book it covers everything that the first book covers. But we did a robust chapter on women in hip hop. We did a robust chapter on activism in hip hop. We take it all the way up to the George Floyd and the pandemic. We go down south. We talk about the Tupac and Biggie situation. So it's a really good book, and I think it's something that will stand the test of time as the first book did. And it's really for young adults so that they can capture that great history that I think, in a few years is going to really be gone from us. Hip hop is going to be 50 years old, and there's a whole body of work from the 90s, which is 30 years ago. And pretty soon there's going to be a whole body of work from the 2000s, which we're ending at 20 years. So we wanted to make sure that pioneering infancy that gave rise to hip hop was captured. The other thing is that we looked at what was going on in other parts of the country, in particular the Bay Area. So there was a scene out here in the 70s that had nothing to do with New York. It was a funk scene, so we talk about that. We talk about what was going on in LA and other places. So we try to put a lot in those 325 pages, and it's a good book.
Man, I'm so grateful that you're doing that, for the reasons that you mentioned. Definitely need for the new generation to know what's happening, where this music that they currently are listening to came from. Can't Stop, Won't Stop was a chapbook, a study book of mine. And I was grateful to have it. And it's a necessity, for anybody who calls himself a part of this culture.
Yeah. You said it's coming back in 2021. When can people get it?
It's going to be March of 2021.
All right.
So Davey, I have a first edition, and I'm a lot of people. The book sold really well. Why do I need to go out and buy the new version?
If you have kids, that's
I
what
don't have kids.
Oh. Well, then I think you want to capture it just because we took it up to date. So it didn't stop. I think the first edition we kind of stopped in the 90s, but here we go up to 2020. And we fill in a lot of gaps that weren't there. And that's why I think where we're at right now, people are going to want to know regional history. They're going to go, what was going on in the Bay? What was going on in LA? What was going on in Detroit? All that is starting to come up. So this book will be a reminder to ground you in this basic narrative about what happened, the political conditions, the social conditions that gave rise to the destruction of the Black Power movement, the income inequality that devastated all of us. We all came out of those conditions. So we recontextualize that and walk you up and give you a springboard to really dwell into these other stories, which I think are going to emerge and should emerge, so that when you read it, you're going, okay, I understand why Outkast did what they did in the 90s. I understand why they did this in 2000s, because of what was going on from 1968 all the way up to now. So just the police brutality stuff that we talk about should be a reason just to pick it up, because it's a constant, unfortunate companion to hip hop. You know, it's always been there, you know, these challenges. So that's why I would pick it up.
Now, when you say a young adult edition, what age are we specifically looking at here?
Well, I mean, we're all young adults, but more specifically, we're talking about, you know, high school, you know, and just teaching. I do teach on the college campus, and I can tell you most people don't read. And I told this with Jeff. I said most adults are going to read this book because just the way that the reading is. So it's for everybody as far as I'm concerned. So
but at least they have a reference material to help, you know, bridge that gap. You know, I look at people like you, I look at people, you know what I mean, like a lot of us on this panel, and we are somewhat of a bridge, you know, for those generations. We have a deep appreciation, you know, for the music that laid the foundation, but we also have, you know, we respect the creativity of what's happening, you know, for today. But there has to be a bridge so that you can understand the story, you know.
And we look at hip hop internationally, which we can't discount. We talk about Mr. Hammer and others who were groundbreaking and tried to give them their flowers for what they contributed, you know, to this vibrant culture. We also have a whole chapter on Russell in that day. Not Russell Simmons, but Russell Gatewood when he was.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I was
when you were talking about.
I was in the first book too.
So Russell Gatewood used to make his money by running around pretending he was King T, you know, a pioneering rapper out of LA. And he
I am holding back so much right now.
You really are.
Boy, oh boy.
I've never seen you render
Davey, oh, Davey.
You want some raisins? You want some raisins?
I do have a question for you. Question for you. Mm-hmm. So what you're doing, first off, let me give you flowers, because you are one of the only people, and come on, don't get me. You're one of the only people.
Give him lotion.
Oh my God. You're one of the only people that can be friends with Chuck D, sit down, have a conversation with Hammer, sit down and talk to a Bun B, you know, teach these topics, you know, in a college forum, and do it on a global basis. And you're right here in the Bay Area, but yet you are an international treasure. So I just want to salute you and let you know I see you.
I appreciate that.
And he answered my call when I hit him up too. So I appreciate that, man. Because
I'm saluting you too.
I'm going to tell you the best.
Can you see my salute right now?
The best interview.
Mrs. Gatewood, come get him.
The best interview I ever did was with Hammer. You know, this man came to my house one day on a fling, and we sat down and did a 2.5 hour interview, and just the information that he was talking about, like for example, breaking down how all these independent labels tried to start their own distribution company in the 90s, which I don't think there's full appreciation about the doors that they were breaking down at that time and what they were resisting. And, you know, Hammer laid that whole thing out, explained why he did certain things. He talked about, for example, why he would make us pay for Summer Jam, you know, because, you know, at the station, it was like, Hammer's making us pay for these artists to do Summer Jam. And then Hammer laid down, like, do you know these stations were making millions of dollars, giving like pennies to charity, and then killing our, you know, touring career? He said, we peeped game and we made them have to ante up like MOP, you know, and man, he laid it's called the Vengeance interview. He talked in detail about the Troop stores that they owned. You know, a lot of people don't know that. And it was just a fascinating thing. And I really appreciate him opening up and just really laying down a lot of things. But in that interview, he really captures what the essence of the Bay was, that hustle, that grit, that willingness to push the envelope. And I mean, all of y'all are a part of that. Russell's a part of it. CJ is definitely, groundbreaking in what he was doing back with Timex and, with Natty Prep. So there's a lot of flowers for everybody in this room that I think we can celebrate, because paths were blazed with a lot of people from the Bay. And that's just something that, born and raised in New York, but definitely fashioned in the Bay. I always say that.
Yeah, man.
That's love.
Yeah,
Let me ask you this. I'm sorry. This is my last question.
Don't give the Bay your fashion tip. We don't know. This is your
my last
tip
question.
from the Bay when it comes to fashion.
But okay, so Davey, answer me this. And this has been on my heart for the past week, so I'm so glad you're here. Now, you're writing a book that is helping to bridge the gap for people to understand, what 90s and just early hip hop has contributed, right? But why is it like BET, MTV, all of these places that had Yo MTV Raps, they had all of this material and catalog and interviews and incredible moments in hip hop, and they're not broadcasting it. They're not repurposing it.
So this show that you all are doing, right? If you put it in a time capsule and you come back 10, 15 years from now, we will be capturing a very important historical moment that speaks to us. The conversation, the jokes, the energy, right? In the middle of a pandemic, in the middle of social unrest. A long time ago, we did a show for PBS that captured the Bay in the late 80s, early 80s. It's called Rhapsody. We wanted to show that in a hip hop museum exhibit. And PBS said, you all can't do that. And we go, why? Said, you have to get everybody who is in that documentary to sign off on it. And we said, fine. Everybody who's in that documentary is working on this exhibit. So we got them to sign off on it. Then they came back and they said, well, you got to get the record labels, Jive Records, and everybody sign off on it. So we got them to sign off on it. Then they came back and said, you got to get Muni and Bart and all these other things that were shown to sign off on it. And then they just said, if you show that, we'll sue you. We own the rights to that, so you can't show it in the museum. That history was gone, right? It was never shown when we did the first rock and roll hip hop exhibit. And so one of the things I learned, which is a Bay thing, I made sure everything that I do, I own, including the interviews, right? So that this is our historical wealth. This is our collective wealth. And I think there are many people who are sitting on these treasures, right? That have these important moments that are saying, how can I monetize this? Or they're threatened and they're saying, if we put this out, that's going to unite this community, and then they're going to, have this excellence. So we're not going to show this at all. And if they do, we'll come along and say, we own CJ Flash. We own Jerry Dove. We own Ryan Nicole. We own their intellectual creative properties. And you can have it if you want to give us $1 million, but we're not going to have you empower the community. So in my opinion, that's always been the situation. And it's important that we don't allow that to happen, that we capture these moments and we keep them not just for us, but for our kids and our generation to come after. I'll end with this. What was the Black experience after 9/11, which was 20 years ago? We don't know.
Have no
idea.
What
were Black people? Because people own those moments. They own those moments, but they ain't gonna own these moments. The George Floyds, the Oscar Grants, the Trayvon Martins, because we captured that. We keep it for ourselves. We tell our own narratives. And if you go back to 9/11, they've erased a lot of the stuff. When they showed the movie and it was Black heroes in there, they replaced it. They made a decision in the movie. So this is bigger than hip hop, but this is collective community consciousness. And, and it's important that we lay it down for our kids and the kids that come after, and even for ourselves.
When you own, you can edit.
I own this show. And I'm choosing to edit over to CJ Flash. and what are you eating over there? You really are eating raisins?
I mean, we like snacks.
Okay,
Oh,
all right.
Raisin
Dang.
kid snacks. You know
He put the raisins on everything. He put raisins on everything.
I put
CJ
raisins
Flash.
in my chicken. Yeah.
Oh Lord.
We'll get to that. We'll get back to that. CJ, give us another one, brother.
Hold it now. Come on.
Another Pete Rock remix. Check that out. Yeah. Check it out. Get funky.
I testified, my mama cried. Black people died when the other man lied.
Yeah.
See the TV, listen to me, double trouble. I overhaul and I'm coming from the lower level. I take a pan, hold up, the grab like shirts in a hearse. With a neck direct to the pole, cause our soul took the toll from the education of a TV station. But look around, here go the sound of a record ball, boom and pound. When I shut them down, I shut them down. I shut them down. I shut them down. I shut them down. I shut them down.
CJ Flash, you go first, please. Wait a minute. Poster coming in. Just happen to have that sitting right next to her desk.
She hype. She hype.
I got props.
Go ahead, CJ.
People talk about the Fear of a Black Planet and and the other albums, but Apocalypse 91 with this record,
Man.
oh god. And then Pete just took it because the original version was cool. It was real cool, but Pete Rock took it and just. So it's one of my favorites. I have many favorite hip hop classics. This is definitely one. I can't have a list because it's too long, but this is definitely in there. Chuck was just ridiculous, the quintessential MC, and he just laid the land. He wasn't afraid of anything.
No.
He just laid it out there, man. Laid it out there like, look, we're going to shut this down. I like Nike, but wait a minute. The neighborhoods are poor, so put some money in it.
Come on.
What else do you need?
Not much, bro. Not much.
All right, Tracy, since you got props, you go next, Tracy.
Oh my goodness, I don't even feel worthy to have anything to say with Davey D on the panel, But they had such an impact. I've held on to this poster probably 30 years.
Wow.
I'm going to get it, framed, but the boldness from Chuck D, the whole collective. From there, I'm an S1W in my spirit. And just seeing them live, Terminator X, just the whole energy, the whole movement, it just opened my mind as a kid that it wasn't just about, having music as a backdrop for whatever, hip hop dances we were doing in that moment. But he made you think. He made you really listen. And he what was that, 91, Davey D? I don't know, talking about the value of our dollar.
Right.
Yeah.
The other thing, we talked about Nas and the musicology of his album, but you can't leave out the important production of Large Professor and Pete Rock. That jazziness, right? So the original version is good. But Pete Rock reminded you just how jazzy, hip hop could be. And that was just a great song. I mean, that was a protest song for songs. And
I say, I say this and I'm going to confess to you guys, I'm going to have a vulnerable moment that I messed with West or East Coast hip hop more than I did West Coast hip hop at the time.
That's good.
It spoke to my whole personness.
Mm-hmm.
I rocked with the funk of the West Coast movement, and it was funky for show. All the pulls were from Funkadelic and George Clinton and whatnot. But the content and the messaging that was in East Coast hip hop just acknowledged my blackness. Acknowledge a history. And the pulls were, like you're saying, jazz music. It was just stuff that I could really connect to.
And to piggyback on that, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I rocked with New York a little bit more simply because of the cadence, one, and the flow. because cats on the West Coast tended to flow linear on top of the beat. And New York had already done that. So where they were taking it lyrically was very syncopated and very different. And so it wasn't so much on top of the beat. It was through the beat. It was between the beat. It was the beat in between all of the other beats. It was the molecules that hold everything. It was ridiculous. And you start hearing different cats really take flows and have these ideas of how they want to present a sentence, just a sentence, and chopping it up. And that was the creativity that really
did you not see that with Freestyle Fellowship and
later
Far Side
later.
Okay,
that was mid-90s, but I'm talking about right on the cusp of 89 going into 90, the way that cats switched up their cadence. I mean, that came from New York. That was a New York thing. And so, absolutely. Freestyle Fellowship, Far Side, all the Souls of Mischief, all those cats started doing the same kind of flow, or started breaking their flow up as well. Not the exact same as New York, but the idea was you don't have to say this sentence on top of the beat.
Right. Let me give you a little information about that. Mm-hmm. In the golden era of hip hop, which is around 87, 88, what you're experiencing was something that was very intentional. There were meetings that they had at the Latin Quarter with all these artists, and they said, we're going to do three things. We're going to fight apartheid in South Africa. We're going to change the value. We're not going to do gold chains, but we're now going to wear African medallions. And they started to introduce this concept that we now know as Afrocentricity. So it was through these series of meetings at the Latin Quarter that they said, in the videos, we're going to start showing Malcolm X and Haile Selassie and, figures. So if you go back and look at all those videos, you start to see leaders in the back. But out of those meetings came the Jungle Brothers, came the whole native tongue movement, came this consciousness in rap, which, was accentuated by those flows. But those were things that people were like, we're going to change the game, and we're going to change it almost the way bebop changed jazz when it was swing. That was that moment in hip hop for New York. And then I think that moment got picked up again on the West Coast with the High Roads and the Freestyle Fellowships and the whole Good Life and the Upper Room, which I think took that energy and flipped it even more. So the intentionality of hip hop to change the dynamic and change the energy, I think is important moments. And it's something that we should celebrate. So
Davey, I agree with you. And CJ, to kind of piggyback on what you're saying, I think what it is, and it happens with all forms of true art as far as music, and it is the space between the notes that is what it's like jazz. It's just like jazz. So I'm glad you brought up the bebop analogy, because it's just like jazz. It's the space in between the notes that is the power of that message. So it's not what CJ is saying. It's not a sentence. It's not a line of lyrics on top of a track. It's not like that at all. It is a carefully thought out and carefully curated weave between, and that's the job of these producers. When you look at what the Bomb Squad did, and the Bomb Squad had a fantastic track, and then Pete Rock says, I got an idea. And Chuck's jazz fit right in there. It just fit right in there. Let me build around this. And that, as it started to evolve, and it opened up doors for people on the West Coast who felt the same way, that's what we experienced. And when you talk about a golden age of hip hop, you have to say the 90s is that it's not as far, I wouldn't go so far as to say a renaissance of hip hop, but it's just an explosion of creativity. When you have Arrested Development, putting out, yes, we're from the South, celebrate where we're from, and the use of acoustic instruments in their messaging, the use of the tools of our heritage in their imaging. And you have Freestyle Fellowship, which is just let me tell you what's on my mind through these beats.
Right. So let's build off that a little bit. because the West Coast has a musicology too.
Yeah.
So hip hop has three pillars. One would be its Jamaican, West Indian, reggae side. The other would be jazz, and then the other one would be funk.
Oh,
right?
right.
And so the West Coast brings to the table a musicology around funk and instrumentation that you didn't always have everywhere else. Like a lot of those records, people own the rights to it. It's like, oh, that's my sample. That's mine. That's mine. It's mine. But out here, in between the notes, it's like, no, I'm sorry. We played that note. That's our music. Shout out to Kyrie. Shout out to Ann Banks. Shout out to Al Eaton. Shout out to Foster McElroy. All those people that you know that brought studio tone. So there was a musicology that I think some people would go, well, it's very simple in comparison to the complexity of jazz, but 40 owns his music.
And they brought the funk.
And brought the funk, which made sense when you were riding in your car.
Exactly.
You riding in your car,
you got 12 in the trunk. Right. You're not listening. You want that dump,
When you on a subway, you can't hear that bass, but I gotta hear what you're saying in between. What are you saying? So so it reflects the aesthetic of different regions, and so I think everybody had major contributions to this, and I think there was a between the notes moment with the way that people were trying to navigate the music industry and not get caught and not get pimped, and also appeal directly to their community in a way that folks would go, you're speaking to me, I feel this. And I think that happened here.
Let me ask you this. Have you had a chance to sit down and talk to Keith and Hank Shopley?
Yeah, I've talked to them before. I mean, I was in the studio when they did Fear of a Black Planet. And, when I was watching when they did the Cramps.
Wait.
I know, wait a minute. I'm like,
hold on, bro. Back up.
He just name dropping.
You can't just bump that one right there, brother. Tell us about that.
Once again, let me show you
the night that we got accosted by the police and almost got arrested.
Wow, come on now.
What happened?
Yeah, to make a long story short,
impossible.
They had an artist named Son of Berserk who had his girlfriend who went across the street from Green Street Studio. She got accosted by some racist white dude, and she called her boyfriend, Son of Berserk, who sounds like Chuck. He went out there to confront the guy. The guy said he didn't take the girl's phone. That's what happened. Her phone was taken. The phone rang while he was there. Berserk reached into his pocket. The guy ran away screaming. And just as that happened, myself, Chuck D, and Eric Sadler pulled up. We get out the car trying to figure out what was going on. We didn't know what was happening. And then the cops came about 15 deep and put guns to our head and had us stand up against the wall and accused us of robbing, this dude who had called this woman all kind of crazy names. A long story short, they weren't trying to hear what we were saying until the white dudes from Green Street Studios came out and said, this is Public Enemy, et cetera, et cetera. At which point the S1Ws came out and there was almost a fight on the corner between the police and the S1Ws and the whole nine.
Wow.
That was one of the nights that they did, they started laying down the groundwork for Polly Want a Cracker. And then later, 911 is a joke.
Yes.
So that's a cover story that I did for BAM Magazine about that. So being in the studio and watching them do what Chuck called cram sampling, where he's spending 2 hours looking for a record, a Boris Karloff record. It has a laugh, and he's spending let me sample this, play it back. No, I don't want that. Let's do this again. It's not easy. 2 hours later, he finds the laugh. When I hear the album, it's like, where's the laugh? Oh, it's buried under these 50 other samples that we have. And it was just incredible to see them do that. I was there for maybe 2 or 3 nights, and I'm glad I got a chance to see that piece of history. But they were meticulous. They were intentional. No space was wasted on that record, and it was funky as hell. It was a beautiful thing, one of the best albums ever. And so to see that Yeah, that was that creativity you were talking about. Woo!
Wow, man.
But at the end of the day, people came along and they were giving out bounties, $500 each if you could tell what the sample is, because a lot of those samples weren't cleared, and so they came after them. And they're like, oh, this James Brown grunt, that Russell Gatewood moan, that Jerry Dove, laugh. These are all things that people were like, I want my $500. So
Hey, me.
Run it.
Wow.
Yeah, so look, I am learning so much on this show. I'm sure the people that are listening and watching are doing the same. Speaking of which, Tracy, why don't you tell us some people that are watching us out there, where they're from, what they're doing, what they're watching us on? Shout them out.
Yeah, we have New Orleans, Louisiana.
NOLA.
Atlanta, Georgia. Detroit, Michigan. We have San Francisco and Oakland. We have North Carolina in the building. So shout out to all of the people who are blowing up the comments. If you are not in the comments, that's what the party is. And if you're not, okay, wait, what was that? I just saw
Petey Pablo.
Like a helicopter.
If you want to be a part of the after party, make sure that you join the IRTS show VIP lounge.
That's right.
Because that's where the magic happens, along with what Russell just did. I don't know if you're going to strip or no.
Well, actually, Russell and Ryan were doing it at the same time. So.
Petey Pablo, like a helicopter. North Kakalaka.
It's the bottom row. It's something on that bottom row. I don't know what's going on.
This is up. This is hit. This is church.
Wait, can you still say North Kakalaka? Because last time I was there, people said don't say that.
Oh wow!
Really?
Yeah, people didn't like that when I said that. I was like, North Kakalaka is like, don't say that.
Well, that's what you said it.
It's cool. Okay.
Your diction is.
I'm gonna take heed to the wisdom.
I know. I won't be saying it though.
Is that the same as saying the city versus Frisco?
Yeah,
No, Frisco. No. I see Cleveland, Ohio. Vince Robinson is in the house too. I went to high school with that dude from Atwater High. Nice. There he is, Cleveland, Ohio, in the house.
Are you from Cleveland?
Vince. I was born in Youngstown.
Wow.
My brother was born there the next year. I've never been to Youngstown since.
Oh wow.
I got 150 plus Cleveland cousins that will never take me to Youngstown because they say that is mafia driven. We're not even driving through there.
Wow.
That's what they told me. I said, let me just drive over and see what it looks. Nope. They wouldn't do it.
Wow.
We bought Prolos.
Okay. All right.
So look, we're having some fun. We got to get some more music though. CJ Flash, keep it going, please.
So you said something about Detroit. The D is it D in the building?
What up, though? What up, though?
What we got?
Sound good to me. This sound hard, something funky people gon' dance to. Give the right a second and a chance to. Hitting people like a scene of amazement. While they slipping back, my feet is planted in the pavement. Crumble like I never do. So now I'm looking dead at you. What are you gonna do? You listen to the knowledge of a scholar. You say how I breathe, tell them how I holler. I'm the E-double, and I proclaim my name. Straight up, good gang, peeps all game. I'm like a rhino, running through the roughest pack. They figure I'm a trigger happy if I had, so they step back. Breathe. The microphone is who lasts alone with the news thrones. It ain't a game, it's plain to see. You listen to the sounds of breathe.
Oh, you know,
I love that.
First time I heard that, they said I thought it was a Bay Area record. They was like, no, that's from Flint, Michigan.
Yeah.
But it's Flint. I ran around and I said, I don't care. We claiming the late MC Breed. That's a Bay Area record.
That's real.
Sorry, Michigan. He's ours.
He definitely had all the components of
West Coast. Even his aesthetic, he had the locs on, he had the hat. I mean, he was so West Coast in that video. I was like, oh,
so it be off me.
But
right.
Michigan, Detroit, Flint, they sister cities to us.
Yeah, they're sister cities.
Yeah. Detroit and Oakland are like separated at death.
Yeah. So we're gonna share the late MC Breed, and he has honorary Bay Area membership. He's one of us, even though he was born there.
Always.
Yeah.
Maybe
Keep
we
that
should
music
put
going,
on.
CJ.
Here we go.
Keep it going, bro. We rolling now.
My mellow locks, he was kicking flavor. Ari Bossy said, yo, Latifah, we can do this. So I paused and took a thought, then my brilliance I caught, and I agreed, cause I already knew this. Now you should wanna flex, cause I'm in full effects. Queen Latifah is 5-0 on this set. You've been begging and dying for somebody's rhyming to set you free. For God so loved the world, he gave to me. I'm cooling, teaching knows me, it's schooling, and the mic, this mic in my hand, I'm ruling. So prepare your mind for my lifeline, and meet the new queen of royal badness. Latifah had the spirit, so head for the water and dive into the wrath of my madness. Hasta living, getting higher, causing her to run away. Queen Latifah getting higher.
I like that one too. Tracy, you first, Tracy.
Oh, the queen! Oh, the queen! She represented so in such a way. I mean, I'm so proud of Dana. You know, come on, we just got to go and put her government name out there.
Dana Owens,
such a champion. You know, not only did she just, boot down the doors, for female MCs, but she booted down the door for female executives. And she really opened the door, you know what I mean, for people like myself.
Every unit.
To even think about trying to, have a management company or a record company or anything like that. And then went on to be nominated for an Oscar. What I love about her is that she didn't allow hip hop to smother her desire to sing or to act or to do whatever it is that she wanted to do. She was one of the first ones where you had to step back and say she's like prismatic in terms of her gifts, her ability to run, companies successfully, to manage artists like Busta Rhymes and LL Cool J and a lot of her peers. And I could go on and on talking about her. I think she's amazing. I think even her bravery, just what she did in terms of supporting her mother during her illness. And surviving the fact that her brother, died in a motorcycle accident, and she thrived. She didn't just survive, but she thrived. Yeah. So I salute you, Dana.
Yes.
Love and respect her. And she got talk shows too. This is how far she's going. She got a talk show.
A multimedia mogul.
Yeah.
In the most awesome way, and has had a very private life and I'm very happy and proud that she has represented us in such a way.
I am too. She's brilliant. A lot of people would say that my rhyme comes from Lauryn Hill, and she's definitely somebody who I love. Mm-hmm. But I got inspired to write from the very beginning from Queen Latifah. My cousin Paris put me on. He was like, listen, this is what you need to be listening to. I was like 9 years old. He's like, this is the music you need to be checking for. And from then on, I was like, how do I find my foothold in this game, and Queen Latifah's been gold for ever since, which is why I wear so many hats.
Yeah. All Hail the Queen is one of the best albums ever. To me.
Come on. You foolish.
That crown.
When she sees you, she gonna run up and drop kick you.
Lady, I would run from her. Okay, all right. I'll live to fight another day. Yeah.
When I first met her, it was at the New Music Seminar. You all may remember that. And before she had Queen in front of her name, she stood up with her ponytail, had some overalls on, said she was from Jersey, and ripped into the executives who were on this panel because they weren't playing hip hop. And she was just like, y'all not playing hip hop at night. You're not giving it its love, and just was throwing down. And then, it was like, who is this woman? It's like, her name's Latifah. She didn't have no records out. A couple of years later, she was on the cover looking all regal. And look at that video Ladies First.
Mhm.
It is a subversive video because she's not just writing about women being first, but her and Fab Five Freddy put an anti-apartheid message throughout that video.
Yes.
And they were very clever about doing it so that it would air while people's going ladies first, they were smashing on apartheid at the same time.
Yes.
So yeah, you know, all hail the queen. That's our queen.
Well, Davey, give me your opinion on this. I mean, when you think about her and the Flavor Unit whole movement, can we say it's because of a Queen Latifah that we had Naughty by Nature, that we had the Jungle Brothers, that we had Moni Love, that we had Tribe Called Quest? I mean,
absolutely. Without Flavor Unit, there is no native tongue.
Yeah, we often talk about the first ladies of different crews. The Rough Riders would be Eve, and you know, and what have you. But if you think about it, before there was Nas, there was Roxanne Shante. That was laying down the blueprint, right? At 15, like she's the mother figure. You know, Kool Herc, his party in '73 is because of his sister, you know, Cindy Campbell. So there's a lot of women that really put down some birth.
I got a question for you, Davey.
Right? We got our girl.
I have a question for you, Davey.
Yeah.
So this is not 90s, but I do have a question because you are the historian. I will give you your props. So why didn't Sha Rock ever really get that claim? You know what I mean? Because she was fly.
Yeah, Sha Rock was.
Yeah.
Sha Rock was as an MC.
Yeah.
We copied Sha Rock. She was the prototype for a lot of people. Myself, definitely. DMC. A lot of people found her to be the one that you mimic because you couldn't do Melly Mel. So there was Melly Mel, then it was Sha Rock, right? But she came at a time, she was on Sugar Hill Records.
Right.
And I think there was, you know, Run DMC came at the time when they kind of overshadowed what was going on with Sugar Hill. You know, that whole Def Jam movement with, you know, Sucker MCs, the thing shifted to Queens, and it was off and running. LL Cool J, the movies, and they just never gave her the shine. By then, you had MC Lyte, who was showing up, and then Salt and Pepper and Roxanne Shante. So they became the ones that got known. But all of them, even though they were mother figures in their own sense, they also had dudes that were co-signing them. So Marley Marl is Roxanne Shante, right? You know, Nate Robinson and that whole movement with MC Lyte, and then of course Salt and Pepper do the answer record.
Nate Robinson?
Not Sleepy Nate.
Not Sleepy Nate Robinson.
No.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No. That Nate wasn't going to get knocked out. But I think people are also starting to really go back and look at her, Queen Lisa Lee, you know, who we see in Wild Style, and really, you know, get a deeper appreciation for what these women did, because they were blazing trails. You know, the Mercedes ladies, but Sha Rock was, you know, when you say her name, you got to say it like woo. She was the Dindadas. Like,
come on.
So these are the kind of things we can get in your book. Don't
yeah,
stop.
we definitely, definitely.
That's touched in the first version. Yeah. I'm sure you left that part in the second version, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
Sha Rock was so raw that as a dude, you would say her rhymes and keep the gender in place. If she said she's a queen, it's like I'm a queen. It's like, well, you know, you're not really a queen. Don't matter. I'm just gonna say her rhymes.
Okay.
And say it with your chest too.
Yeah. Nah, she was raw. She was raw.
CJ Flash, keep it going, brother.
We fight every night. Now that's not culture. I reminisce with bliss of when we was closer and wake up to be greeted by an argument again. You act like a 10, so immature. I try to concentrate on the cure and keep looking at the front door. Thinking if I were to evacuate, you'd probably be straighter than straight and wouldn't have so much hate. Cause you don't know the pain I feel when I see you smiling. And when I roll up, you start wilding. So I front like everything's hunky-dory. But it's a whole different story. You don't like the fact that I'm me. I don't put on a show when it comes time for you to have company. And your friends don't understand your choice of man. They speak proper while my speech is from a garbage can. But regardless, you shouldn't have to be so raw. I'm looking at the front door. I'm looking at the front door.
Chicka boom, 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 boom. All right.
I know. Flash, I want to be at a party.
I like that. I like
What you say? You want to be at a party?
I want to be at a party right now, Flash. I'm having a hard time right now.
Man.
Yeah.
Wait, you guys just missed that Jewel. He just said.
Oh, I heard the scat. I heard the scat.
I'll do it again if you need to.
Go ahead.
Boom, boom, boom. Now listen, before we start talking about that song, I wanted to shout out one person in particular, Showbiz, who is down in Monterey Salinas holding it down. He came from, I worked with him, and you probably did too, Davey, when he was at Wild 94.9 with the Doghouse, a big show.
Yeah.
That's my dude, man. So he's down there listening to Monterey Salinas. He's holding it down. I think he's on K-Don down there, right? So K-Don radio. So wanted to make sure I say hello to him. Now, talk about that song. Go ahead.
Actually, what he brought up I just saw his comment was really nice, and it's just kind of a riff. That break in that beat right there is repeated in so many different songs at that time. Like in that same year, that beat happens at least 6 times, right? In different songs. But that's main source. Not like that.
That main source, dude. With you put the needle on the record and it starts, and then it starts again, and you're like, oh, that's just knocking. Come on, baby. It's just knocking. The main CJ, dude. Yeah.
That guy.
Nigga, boom, 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 boom. I'm right.
Looking at the
here's a riddle.
I heard that part.
There were 3 people in main source. Who are they other than Large Professor? Who are the other 2?
Chicka, boom, and boom, right? No. Probably not right. Chicka, boom, and boom. I'm sorry. You guys were talking hip hop. I'm sorry. Where's everybody going? What's happening?
K-Cut was one of them.
Chicka boom and boom and boom.
DJ K-Cut.
K-Cut. All right.
Large Professor, K-Cut, and the other DJ.
I don't know the other cat. Who is it, Davey?
2 DJs.
I don't remember. I just
well, I can get on my Google game. Like,
I could have been right. Y'all don't even know. See, I could have been right.
No, we know. Wasn't Chicka Boom.
Exactly.
Boom and boom and boom. Right. TJ dropped it. So CJ, keep playing that music. We rolling now. Go ahead, bro.
Sippy with your ice, grilly with the dilly, yo. When I be on the mic, I do my duty, yo. While up in the club, like we while in the studio. You know when to violate, baby, really and truly, yo. My main thug, Dylan ain't Julio, he moody, yo. Type of brother that'll slap you with the tulio. Real shucks, scared to death, act fruity, yo. X that, look at shorty, she a little cutie, yo. The way she shake it make me wanna get all in the booty, yo. Top mistress of the banging misses and videos. While I'm with my freak like we up in the freak shows. Hit you with this shit, make you feel it all in your toes. Hot got all my people in red clothes. Dialing my metaphors when I formulate my flows. If you don't know, you're messing with lyrical player pros. Like you really wanna party with me? Let me see just what you got for me. Put all your hands with my eyes to see. Straight buck violin in the place to be. If you really wanna party with me, let me see just what you got for me. Put all your hands with my eyes to see. Straight buck.
Get in there, CJ.
Y'all ain't ready for this. Y'all ain't ready for this. Y'all ain't ready for it.
I reminisce for a spell, or shall I say, think back 22 years ago. My granddaddy came sober. Count all the fingers and the toes. Now I suppose you hope the little black boy grows. 18 years younger than my mama, but I really got beaten because the girl loved drama. In single parenthood, there I stood. By the time she was 21, had another one. This one's a girl. Let's name her Pam. Same father as the first, but you don't give a damn. Irresponsible, plain not thinking. Papa said chill, but the brother keep winking. Still he won't down you or tear out your hide. On your side while the baby make us slow.
Oh man.
Smoke on the mic like smoking Joe Frazier, the Hellraiser, raising hell with the flavor, terrorize the jam like troops in Pakistan, swinging through your town like your neighborhood Spider-Man. So keep talking, keep ticking. When I get to clipping off the city, I'm kicking the Lone Ranger, cool red Ranger, deep in the dark with the art, to rip the charts apart. The vandal, too hot to handle your battle. You're saying goodbye like Devin Campbell. Rough neck, Inspector Dex on the set. The rebel, I make more noise than heavy metal. The way I make the crowd go wild. Sit back, relax, won't smile. Ray got it going on, pal. Call me the rap assassinator. Rhymes rugged and built like Schwarzenegger. And I'ma get mad deep like a threat. Blow up your project, then take all your assets. Cause I came to shake the frame in half with the thoughts that bomb. Like now, so if you wanna try to flip, go flip on the next man. Cause I'll grab the clip and...
Oh boy.
Can I say something about Wu-Tang?
Wait! Before you do, can we say something about CJ Flash?
Okay.
Come on now.
CJ, I'm depressed now. I'm ruined.
I got up and jumped up out of her seat and started.
I've been fine this whole quarantine. I don't need to go to no party, but man, you just
you're making everybody sweat out there, curls and the whole
for
nine.
real.
You know?
I'm done.
It was the transitions for me, Ryan. I don't know. It was
it's the whole thing. You right, Tracy, girl. Oh man,
everything.
That's why he's the music director of this show. See, that's why we got him over there doing that.
That's why you guys got to tune in on Fridays with him and Russ go cut up.
The extravaganza.
But you know, CJ's reminding us that part of the magic of these records was also in the 90s. You saw an explosion of a lot of DJs really perfecting their craft.
Yeah.
And I think what he was showing was the DJs also really coming into their own. It's like, yeah, we got the ingredients and you can listen to this Wu-Tang record, but it's got to come in correctly. It's got to have the right flow. It's got to drop at the right time. Otherwise, you're not going to have a full appreciation for it. So he completes the package. But with that particular record, I had a test copy of it. I still have it, right? And there was no information. There was no picture. Right. And it was something about Charlene, and it was from Staten Island. And so for me, I was like, it's like there ain't no black people in Staten Island, you know, even though I knew about UMCs. And I was like, these Asian guys, man, they really going down here. That was my first thing. And then I was like, why are they using the N-word in here? You know, it's like, and I remember it's like, man, these Asian dudes, man, they sound like some brothers. And then, you know, we find out about Staten Island. That would be the equivalent to somebody putting out a record from Piedmont or coming from Sausalito or something, right? If they came from Sausalito and you was like, man, they getting down like that? Then you go to, you know, it was just like that. You know, it's like
straight out of Rock Ridge.
Davey, I got a similar story, man. I had the same situation with Brian Sampson. Shout out Brian Sampson.
Yeah.
Shout out Tim Bisa. Everybody was rocking back then. So Brian called me down to his office, and he was working at the Gavin, and he says, "Russ, I need you to listen to this record they sent me. I don't get it." I said, "What do you mean you don't get it? It's hip hop." He says, "Nah, bro, I just don't get it." And it sounds like it's a choir. I said, "Choir? So many people on." So I go to the office, and he puts the cassette in. And he said, "I got it on vinyl, but I need you to just listen to this." And he puts it on, and I stopped, and I said, "Dude, how many people are on this record?" Right? What is this? And he said, "I don't know. I don't know anything about it. It just came in a package, and there's nothing on it."
Yeah, same thing with me. There was no information. They just sent me this record.
Brian said, "I know I like it, but I don't know why." And we listened to it maybe 3 times in a row, and people were walking by his office, and they're like, "Look, we're just trying to figure this out." It was maybe probably a month later. I called him. I said, "Dude, I figured it out. It's the Wu-Tang Clan." I was just about to call you.
Well, I heard it was Wu-Tang, right? And then I heard a ding, 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 ding. And so then they said Shaolin, and I was like, there must be some Asian cats, you know, that just did it. And I was just like, man, hip hop is spread. Hey, I mean, hip hop is breaking barriers, man. Listen to these cats.
I had no clue. We both sat there like,
That's hilarious.
I loved it. I was nodding my head like, oh my God, this is fly, but I just don't know. It's
And
like it's like, like people who see Tenet and they walk out the movie theater. So I think I liked it.
Well, you know, somebody like Brian might have been claiming, hey, man, you know, we're really, because he's Filipino cat might have been, we come a long way. He didn't do that?
No, DJ Fly wouldn't do that. DJ Fly wouldn't do that.
Now, we were talking about the progression of Queen Latifah. How about Method Man, what he's been doing?
Oh, God.
All that acting. And, you know, I saw him do an interview with Trevor Noah the other night.
Yeah.
And he was talking like he graduated out of Harvard and never broke. Like, that's who he was. It was so really nice to see him just all grown up and all the things he's doing.
Yeah.
He worked hard.
I see you, Tracy. I see you.
I ain't saying nothing, Method.
I see you.
He's grown up nicely.
Yeah.
A lot of you women folks was objectifying the brother, and I thought it was offensive. Objectifying. I remember when he came to Summer Jam and places like that, women was like, hold on, let me go see Method Man. It's like, really? And it's like, Method Man is on stage.
Not
Method Man.
It was 19 brothers on stage, and everybody's like,
Don't forget about Ghostface now.
Yeah, I know, but everybody
was good, but he was weird.
It was the eyes. It was the eyes. It was the eyes. It was the eyes. It was the 5 o'clock shadow.
It was the 5 o'clock shadow.
Tall, dark, and handsome. Tall, dark, and handsome.
Props to him. He's got the podcast. He's got the acting, film. We're not going to talk about Ghost Book 2. We're not going to talk about that one. But everything else, bro, he's killing it. What's the piece him and Kadeem have?
That is Teenage Bounty Hunters.
Yeah.
He's all in that. He's all in that.
And there was a time if you said something, even if you joked around about Method Man, some of these sisters would cut you.
Oh, that time hasn't passed.
It looks like if you around Tracy right now, you might have a problem.
She got the rat tail comb ready for you.
Yeah. But look, CJ, squeeze one more song in here, then we got to wrap this up. But let me say this. This is going so well. I know I've been talking about it being pop, hip hop, and R&B, and we never got to any of that. So all that means is we got part 2 of 90s music coming up.
Because you got Belle Biv DeVoe, you got Albie Shore, you got...
I didn't tell them about it. Now they're going to get mad because we didn't play it. So
it's okay. We'll get there.
PM Dawn.
For that matter, we got a part 2 of hip hop. For that matter, right? Because we didn't get to a lot of
Milli Vanilli was they was fly back in the days.
All right. I might have to bow out on that one too. But
don't listen to Davey.
Go ahead, CJ. You were saying something.
So here's what we're gonna do. Since we've been playing all this hip hop is great, and we talked about R&B and pop, we might have to table the pop, but I got a little R&B I can play for.
Okay, just a little taste for part 2.
Tracy, I'm gonna need a close up for this one. You ready?
He's gonna need a close up. He said, "I'm ready for my close up, Miss Tracy."
My Spike Leo.
Oh yeah.
I gave you all the love I got. I gave you more than I could give. Gave you love. I gave you all that I have inside, and you took my love. You took my love. Didn't I tell you what I believe? Did somebody say that a love like that won't last? Didn't I give you all that I got to you, baby? I gave you all the love I got. I gave you more than I could give. Gave you love. I gave you all that I have inside, and you took my love. You took my love.
Okay, I really wanted to play more, but I know how we got to do.
All right. You brought us all down. Brought us right in here. Russ had to go away.
Russ is having a whole personal moment.
Jerry sweating. Lord Jesus. You just had to ruin you had to ruin our Method Man moment.
Well, no, that was to balance it out. You know, we're gonna have Method Man.
Boom, chaka chaka waka, whatever I was saying before.
So before I met my beautiful wife,
you better be right now.
Yep, that's the disclaimer.
There would have been a time if you played Sade. There would have been a fight with people claiming, like, if Russ came along and said that's mine, it's like, no, brother, she's mine. CJ would have said that's mine.
My brother.
So that was our Method Man.
Okay.
I got a confession.
Okay.
I don't want to know what you were doing with the camera.
I don't want to know.
No, this is real. Before I met Davey's beautiful wife, I was saying the same thing.
Oh.
Yes. So
okay.
I give Davey his props because his wife is absolutely gorgeous.
Yes.
But Sadie.
Sadie.
Bruh, I don't smoke. But bruh, I almost lit Newport. I almost had a Newport just now.
Jeff Sanders said he needed a cigarette. See.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that like I was saying, that's going to be a great introduction to part 2 of the 90s music. With, like, look at that. You got Tony Braxton, you know who I love. You got Whitney. You got Deborah Cox. I mean, just all kind of folks who were doing their thing in the 90s.
Karen Wheeler.
Karen White. Karen White for that matter.
I almost thought you said Karen Top.
But you know, real talk. You can't forget New Kids on the Block was.
Oh, yes, you can. Yes, you can forget them. You can forget them.
We run out of time. I'm sorry, but
Mark and the Funky Bunch. Y'all gonna leave them out like that?
We've run out of time. Yes, yeah. My conscience is clear. So we got so much to choose from. I don't know why we would squeeze them in, but listen.
We forgot Tupac.
Tupac for sure. Well, we got to come back
part
for
2,
this.
part 3, part 4. I guess that's going to be.
Let me ask you this: we're all family here.
Yes.
Does Davey have to come back for the part 2?
Yeah.
All the comments I'm seeing, Davey has got to lead that one, man. He definitely got to come back for that. People are loving this whole show. Now, generally, we don't do enough hip hop for the bottom row there. They always want me to do more hip hop, but this was a good one. This was a good one. So,
Exhibit A, brother. Exhibit A.
What'd you say, CJ? What'd you say?
This is your show. We this show just for y'all.
You ruined me. I am done. But thank you.
That's
thank
a good ruin.
I'm good.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm gonna go eat my granola.
Well, hold on, bro. We're not done yet. Hold on.
Oh, we still got time? Okay.
No, we don't have time. I'm just going to, go around and, tell the thing and just kind of close the show. I mean, we are professional. We're gonna need you to talk to all your friends whose name you were dropping to come on the show too. See, so
okay.
Okay.
You want me to have Sadie come on?
Yeah. Let me think about that for a second. Yes.
Run till that. Run till that. Run till that, bro.
Hey, but for real, this has been a great show. IRTS Live is about music from the 90s. We did all hip hop for you tonight with a little bit of R&B at the very end. Let's go around the horn really quickly and find out what the crew is doing, and we're going to find out a little bit more about your book and all that and your social media and all that, Davey. So get your thoughts in order. You'll be last. Russell Gatewood, tell us about what's going on with the Fresh Beat. Show them your shirt this week, brother. Show them that shirt.
My shirt right here. But our show is going to be canceled this week. We're not doing our show because I am flying to London to find Sadie. And there will be no extravaganza this week.
We're not allowed to go to London, are we?
I'm going.
Yeah,
London.
I'll be here.
You got the vaccine? Where'd you get the vaccine?
I got my Mickey Mouse tattoo right here. I'm good. I got my Band-Aid. I got the first back.
Nice. But really, no extravaganza? Really?
Yeah. We
No. There will be an extravaganza.
Thank you. Don't be joking like that.
It'll be a ridiculous extravaganza because I see what CJ just planted in my head. So we never know what we're gonna do, but I'm a dig into that crate. Davey, I played the UMCs last week, so I might have to dig back into that, man. Hit that blue cheese.
Okay.
So it's every Friday, 12 to 4 p.m., 12 noon on the Pacific coast.
Exactly.
It's 4 hours of craziness, old school, lots of laughs, tons of jokes, and so much music. I play in the beginning, and then CJ just comes and just knocks you completely off your feet and just does what he does better than most people. He doesn't toot his own horn, but that dude is one of the best DJs I've ever worked with, and I get a pleasure. It's a pleasure to work with him every Friday.
Pleasure is
So
mine.
Friday, 12 to 4 on Periscope, on Facebook, on Instagram, on Mixcloud, on Twitch.tv, on HotDogWater.com. You name it, it's the world famous.
Download.org. I mean,
You better save that domain name, man.
I already got it.
You got it? Okay.
Ask Horowitz hooked it up for me.
And get that T-shirt too. Brian Nicole, are you still taking it easy?
I'm not actually. I filmed. I know. I took my week and now I'm back in it. I filmed a short film with the brilliant filmmaker Naima Jordan, and that film is dropping. It's a very short film, but it's in dedication to Breonna Taylor. It's called Labor, and it's about all the labor that we do as Black women. And that film drops on the 17th. I'm doing an IG takeover of Culture Strike's Instagram tomorrow. So check in with me there. And then on the 21st, I am hosting an event called CL Sessions, CIEL Sessions. And it is a live streamed event featuring Kev Choice, featuring, featuring the People's Conservatory, and a couple other people. It's a really beautifully shot event, and that happens on the 21st. So,
and in case they forgot or missed some of that, they can find out all that information online
on my Instagram. Yeah, check me out at Miss Ryan Nicole. Thanks, Tracy, for scrolling that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Tracy, your turn. Go ahead.
Oh man, this has been an interesting week. A lot of times when I plan my go lives on my IG, which is Plush Life Media, we get great engagement. But I had the most impromptu conversation with Mimi Valdez.
Wow.
I think that. Yeah.
You saw that? It was it was so amazing. She's such a genuine person. And, obviously she's one of the executive producers of Hidden Figures and the Roxanne, and just countless other contributions. She's, formerly the editor, for Vibe magazine, and interviewed everybody that we've talked about tonight and that we probably will be talking about in the future. But it was an amazing conversation. I did save it to my timeline. So you're able to go to Plush Life Media on Instagram and you can check it out. But we talked about just, hip hop. We talked about just the culture. We talked about film, and it was amazing. So
I second that. It was amazing.
All right.
And so I'm planning part 2 of my It Cosmetics go live with their head of makeup over there, Cindy Watson.
Nice.
And so that should be happening, I think, next week. Yeah.
Tracy, you the bomb.
You the bomb, girl.
Oh, she the bomb chick or whatever I was saying again.
Tracy.
Oh, I didn't put my little stuff up here. I put everybody else.
There you go.
There you go. CJ Flash, real quick, what you got?
Friday, we're working.
Friday.
Where
can they buy some of your gear that you be wearing? Where can people get that shirt that you're wearing and that hoodie?
celebdjs.com. That's CELEBDJS.com. We have these. Well, we have the shirt version of this sweatshirt available. We also have digital downloads. You got to ask for those very nicely. And Russ will take care of you. Do we still have hats, Russ? I think we still have hats in the inventory. Some world famous hats, shirts, umbrellas we've been working on for a while. We need some umbrellas.
You know what you don't got? Y'all don't got no mouse pads.
We have a limited.
We don't have a who?
I'm looking for my mouse pad. What's good?
Oh yeah, we didn't invest in that. Jerry.
And we do have a limited edition biker hat.
Come on, Davey.
With Davey D's picture on the back of it.
Just one, huh?
Well, since you brought up
Very
mouse pads, I'm gonna talk about the IRTS store. It's still time. Davey, you want one of these? You need one of these? It's bigger than. It's not as big as it looks. Trust me. Okay, you want one? I'll get you one, bro. I will get you one. Hey. The IRTS store or IRTS show, and then you can get all your holiday gifts. And if you order it in the next couple of days, I will drive to the post office first thing in the morning and put it in the mail and make sure you get it before the holidays. We got masks, we got mugs, we got caps, we got mouse pads. I'll even throw in some keychains and magnets for free for you, right? IRTSshow.com. Davey D, you will bring it home for us, okay? Tell us one more time where we can get that book and just how to reach you, your social media.
So the book is Can't Stop, Won't Stop. It drops on March 2nd. In the meantime, you can catch me on Mixcloud. You can catch me on Hard Knock Radio, 94.1 or kpfa.org. Also, I've been doing a lot of gigs in the state of Georgia as we're trying to flip the whole Senate.
Yes,
so I've been involved with that. And that's about it. You know, catch me out there in the vineyards picking my raisins, which I put in all my food.
Wow. He really needs that, everybody. He really puts raisins in everything.
I put raisin in my my chicken.
Potato salad.
Gotta stay
my
right.
potato salad.
Lord
it has a lot of protein and it's good for you.
In their place. It's kind of like that commercial. He put that shit on everything. See? He put that on everything, man. Well, look, we sincerely appreciate you coming on, brother. You dropped a lot of knowledge.
Thank you for having me.
And just really, really appreciate you. Proud to know you. All of us are proud to know you.
Yes,
You make us proud in the Bay as you go out across the nation doing your thing. I'm glad you call us home.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Tracy, Ryan, Big Russ. Let me come back on the softball team, CJ. Get a controller.
Get a controller.
The next episode, I will tell the softball story, okay?
Okay. All right, so look, speaking of next episode, we'll be back next Tuesday. I don't generally like to tell y'all what we're going to do, but we're going to do a show all about Christmas music, holiday music. We did it on the TV show, which was a lot of fun. So that might mean that I'm going to have to dress up in that purple tux again or something, and we get to dress up for the holiday show. Squeeze that one in next week.
What's wrong with that dress that you get on right now?
Yo, jokes aside, let's make sure that I know Atlanta's in the house and Georgia's in the house. I want to make sure I underscore what Davey D said. Y'all, early voting started yesterday. Get out there, vote. Get this done. Get it done. Let's flip the Senate.
Yeah,
right.
There you go.
All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. We will see you next week. IRTS Live. We out.
Peace.
Time.